really propel the startup communities across the country and entrepreneurship as a fundamental principle. And so that's really what 1 Million Cups is about. So there is coffee over there. If you haven't had coffee and you need some coffee, there's some over there in the break room. Also, Little Rock Chamber of Commerce, thanks to them for helping support and organize this about a year ago. So that's my introduction. I want to introduce Mr. Bob Munger. Bob drove down from Fayetteville, I believe late last night, Bob, right? To be here to tell us about SUMO. Tell me real quickly what it's, I know it's an acronym. It's a Sustainable Urban Mobility.
That's correct.
So electric vehicles. And Bob's business is based in Fayetteville, and he's going to tell us all about SUMO this morning. So Bob.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. Well, thank you all for coming and giving me this opportunity to introduce SUMO to you. As Tim said, SUMO stands for Sustainable Urban Mobility. And this is, will the lights dim or do we? I'm sure it's fine.
Oh, I can make the lights dim.
This is our project team. This fellow on the left is Michael Lawley, who's my co-founder. That's me in the black, and then the guy on the end is our IT, Taylor Whitaker, who is a senior in computer science at the U of A. And the other folks are just kind of part-time helpers that sort of look pretty for us when we're doing film shoots and things. This is a typical American city. This could be almost any American city. This happens to be in Florida, but it could be anywhere. This suburban part of the city could be as well. This is sort of the 20th century model for American civilization, and the ubiquitous surface parking lot. But there's a new paradigm because more and more Americans are finding that they want to live in walkable communities, moving back into the city. We abandoned the cities in the latter half of the 20th century, and now we're starting to embrace them and move back to them. And this is creating new opportunities. These are the kind of places that more and more people are deciding they want to live. And another major trend is something I call the environmental elephant in the room. I wonder how many people know that if you burn a gallon of gasoline, it produces 19.5 pounds of carbon dioxide. I didn't know that myself till about 5 years ago, and I couldn't believe I didn't know it, number one, and I can't believe how many people still don't know it. You know, I think it's a really important metric that we all should know, and because carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas, and I think most of us have now accepted the fact that the climate is getting warmer, and that we need to do something about it. It's that and other things are causing green transport to grow pretty dramatically. I'm most interested in the car sharing, which is the red hyper growth symbol there, or graphic. Car sharing is very popular now on the East and West Coast. There's about 1.2 million car sharing members in the US. It hasn't really made it in a big way to Arkansas yet. We're the first car sharing company that is really founded in this part of the country. And we also have some other unique properties I'll tell you about. This is showing car sharing growth in the Western Hemisphere. The US is the darker one, the blue. It's about a 15% annual growth rate, which is about doubling every 5 years. Some of you may know Amory Lovins, the founder of the Rocky Mountain Institute. He's an energy think tank, and he's quite a visionary. This is a quote from a recent article talking about the U.S. automobile industry and the average automobile that's only utilized 4% of the time, meaning we have 96% of the time our automobiles are sitting around in a parking lot or at our home, which is a very inefficient use of an asset. This is another thing that is sort of part of the formula for SUMO is the adoption of the low-speed electric vehicle, which we think is the proper vehicle for a lot of Americans living in urban environments. They're very small, they're very maneuverable, they fit in a tiny parking space, they have a tiny carbon footprint, they're very affordable. It started off as basically a modified golf car. Then this is the next generation, which is the type we have deployed in Fayetteville. This is the next generation, which is just deployed for the first time in the United States in California about a month ago. And then this is a concept car that was developed at MIT that has not gone into production at this point. The interesting thing about that car is it actually folds. As you can see, that's the same car, top and bottom, but it pivots on they call it a folding car, which allows it to park in a very compact space. It also turns on literally on a dime. Car sharing plus NEVs, neighborhood electric vehicles, plus smartphone. That's the basic formula for SUMO. And we're the first neighborhood electric vehicle car share company in the Western Hemisphere. We're very proud of that. We've been bragging about it for about 6 months. And then about a month ago, the second one came along and launched in San Francisco. And we're kind of happy that we beat San Francisco finally in something. This is our headquarters in Fayetteville. We have a repurposed shipping container. That's the old, if you're familiar with Fayetteville, that's the old Magnolia Company gas station at the corner of West and Lafayette. It's on the National Trust for Historic Places. We think that we can provide mobility solutions for campus, cities, corporate campuses, people who are looking to bolster their triple bottom line with things like less traffic congestion, lower parking demand, less greenhouse gas pollution, less air pollution. And really importantly, the economics of it is that we can sequester millions of transportation dollars. The state of Arkansas, the last time I did the math, is losing about $2 billion a year to buy imported oil. And if we can cut that, if we can reduce that even by 10%, that's a lot of money. And so it is also the perfect complement to the walkable community, and it helps advance a walkable community. A low-speed EV is a car where you're connected to the street. Instead of an anonymous metal box that's going 40 miles an hour down a road, you're actually part of the street action, and so it's much more neighborly. If you look at the value proposition, the average American car costs about $650 a month to own. That's when you factor depreciation, fuel, interest to finance, maintenance, taxes. You add it all up, and it's a lot of money. Well, you can cut that down tremendously by living in a place where you're not as car dependent and adopting car sharing as your sort of your supplement for when you need a car. You can easily cut your expenses in half or even a third. So why did we launch in Fayetteville? I'm a UA grad, so I wanted to come back to Arkansas was part of the reason, but part of the reason too was that we're looking for a place that I felt like, I had an idea and I felt like I wanted to go someplace where I could trust the community to sort of nurture the idea rather than just steal it and kind of kick me to the curb, which happens a lot with intellectual property. And Fayetteville's also a nice place because it's a college town, and every university wants to be the greenest university. And they've all signed the Climate Action Plan, and so most of them have done a pretty good job of making their buildings efficient. But the transportation sector is really woefully behind, and it's time that we clean that up. So we wanted a college town. Fayetteville was a good fit, and it's also kind of low on the radar where we can sort of develop our concept, and then once we feel like we're ready, then we expand to other communities. We have pod locations around Fayetteville, and a pod location is where you can pick up or drop off our cars. It's a one-way service, meaning you pick it up at pod A, you can drop and leave it at pod B. You don't have to bring it back to pod A. Most of our trips are only 5 or 10 minutes. And so you just pay for that 5 or 10 minute use of the vehicle. We have free campus parking, which is a real nice asset. And so it's great for college students. Imagine if you live off campus and you have a pod at your apartment complex. You can drive it and park for free on campus and then leave it there and you're done with it. Or you can ride it back later, 2 hours later. If you want to take it back home, you can do that. We have car locations. This is from our website. The green indicates a car that's available. The red indicates a car that's not available. And you can book it from your smartphone. And then when you can walk up to it, and then you simply use a text message. This is how you book it. Book hashtag C3, you just booked car C3, and then you'll get a response saying, thanks, you have car C, and it will tell you where the car is. It'll confirm that it's in this case, it's at the campus pod. And then it tells you to just reply start when you get there and you're ready to start the car. And you do it, you hit start, and then it starts, and then when you're done, you hit stop, and the car turns off. And so we're the first actually to use an SMS-based telematics system, which we think is pretty cool because we have a very low-cost vehicle. We have a very low-cost telematics system that doesn't even require a smartphone. A simple flip phone can do it. And so you don't have to have an expensive data plan. You don't have to have an expensive phone. So we're sort of like the Walmart of transportation, we like to think. When you're done, it'll respond, your session is ended, and it'll tell you how many credits you have left in your account. You just go online and add some credits when you get too low. And so that's it. Here's my contact information. I'm a little short on business cards, so you might want to write that down if you'd like to contact me. But I'm going to open it up now for Q&A. Thank you.
Any questions?
So they're all electric vehicles that you have, right?
They're all electric.
And how many do you have currently?
We have 14. We actually have, let me modify that. We have 14 low-speed electric vehicles. We have one conventional car, which is a hybrid, Toyota Camry hybrid. And so the idea is that we would like people to subscribe to our service. We call it mobility on demand, which there are a lot of different car sharing and car ride sharing, and there's Uber that does networking, and so we're in that sort of industry, and we would like to the idea that, okay, I don't need to own a car. I'm just going to subscribe to the service, and if I need a full-speed car, I'll get a full-speed car. And if I need most of the time, I just need a low-speed car, and I'll do that. As we grow, we think we'll probably have a mix of different types of vehicles, but right now we have 14 low-speed EVs and one conventional.
And how do you price it? Is it a subscription, like you said?
Well, yeah, there's no monthly fees. It's just there's a very small fee to join, like $20, which is to cover our we have to do a background check and some things like that. And once you're in, you just pay. It's pay as you go. If you drive it, you pay. If you don't use it for a month, you don't pay a dime. And so it's based on a 5-minute increment. So every 5 minutes you pay a little more. If a 5-minute trip is $1.50, or if you're a group member, if we get 10 or more people in a group, then we give them a discount. It's $1.35 for 5 minutes. 10 minutes is $2.90. And so forth. It gets lower. Each increment is a little bit less. So for a full day's use, which is unusual, but if somebody wanted it for the full day, it'd be about $60.
Jordan Carlisle, how are you handling some of the cultural issues that you might face in Fayetteville? I know when I've been up there, I see a lot of guys with big pickup trucks and big lifts and stuff like that. Yeah. What do they think of something like this?
Oh, they like to rev their engines when they go by our office. It's amazing. It's a big deal. I mean, it is a huge cultural change. Car sharing is doing pretty well in Austin, but other than that, there's not a lot of. I mean, that's probably the closest city, and so yeah, it's a huge cultural change, and it's going to take a while to get through to the students and the people of Fayetteville. I mean, everybody says it's a great idea, but the adoption rate is slower than we would like. So we're looking for early adopters, and it's going to take a while to bridge that.
So it was a good segue to my question. You mentioned Austin. Are there any other cities that have had programs like this or similar to this for any extended period of time, 24 months plus? Or have you guys had an opportunity to do any kind of market research to not only look at what the business model looks like and how scalable is that, but also you had the value proposition slide up earlier, but I was kind of distracted. In that sense, over that 24-month period, what kind of traction can you expect to get with solving some of those urban problems that the product is really designed to solve?
Okay, so there was several questions, but the first one I think was what have we seen in other markets? How has it gone? I mentioned Austin, where Car2Go is doing pretty well. Car2Go uses the smart car, which is also very small, and they use electrics, I believe, primarily. They don't. I think they have a mixture of electric and conventional, but and they're also in Columbus, Ohio, which is another pretty good-sized college town, and they're doing well there. They're owned by Daimler, and so they're basically a Mercedes. And some of the big automobile manufacturers are getting into this business. We're the only ones, like I said, that is, well, we were the first, and now there's a second that's gone into low-speed EVs in the U.S. market. So that market is pretty untested still, the low-speed EV market. Part of the challenge is figuring out, what is the right ratio of cars to members, for instance. We're still trying to figure that out. How many, do you need 10? Do you need 10 members for every car, or do you need, do you need one car for every 20 members or whatever? And we're still, we just launched 5 months ago, so we're still trying to figure all that stuff out. And so, excuse me, go away. And so, let's see, what was the second part of the question?
In terms of speak up. In terms of the effect, based on some of the value proposition data that you presented, what can you expect in terms of traction, in terms of the traction you'll get with solving some of those problems that the product is designed to solve?
Right. We think it's going to, it's a new idea, and it hasn't really been broadcast yet. I did an interview with EV World about 60 days ago, I guess, and I got some good response from some other communities that are interested in us expanding. And Fayetteville is not the ideal market in terms of rapid adoption by any means. It's a good place to sort. It's very forgiving, and it's a good place to kind of fly low under the radar until we're ready to expand. And I think we're there now. We're getting we have some interest from Southern California. We have some interest from Bentonville and some other places. And so I guess the answer depends a lot on the cultural environment of the community. And for instance, California has a very proactive approach to dealing with environmental issues. They have a California Air Resources Board, and they have grant money available, and they have just a whole different kind of way of looking at all these things. They just passed a new energy bill. And although the oil lobby did beat back some of the more aggressive regulations for transportation, it's still a much better environment. So I guess that depends on to answer your question. If I really can't answer it other than to say that we're sort of in the proof of concept mode, and
the market research phase right now.
Right.
It's kind of where Fayetteville becomes a good fit for that. It's an opportunity. It's an empty need.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Paul Gower, and
Paul.
I was curious about, because I think in one of your line items for the cost and things, you had insurance as part of the cost there too. What about safety? I mean, we mentioned the big pickup trucks, stuff like that. Big SUVs are like the in thing now.
Yeah.
Even in a smaller car that I drive, it's like I feel the safest when you've got the big Yukons and Suburbans running up next to you. If I was in a little golf cart, I don't know that I would. So how have you dealt with that? How do you? Sure.
Well, so first I'll just say that we've been driving on Fayetteville streets for 2 years. We haven't had an incident yet. We've had no claims on insurance. Insurance was a very difficult problem for us to solve. I mean, it took us 6 months of negotiations to get insured. But we've got a good track record so far. I said we just launched 5 months ago, but we were doing beta testing for a year and a half. So we try to, our cars are not legal on any road that has a speed limit higher than 35 miles an hour. So you're not mixing with high-speed traffic, which is a big plus. The cars have some of the features the cars have, just so you know, they have 3-point seat belts. They have roll bars. They have a much heavier frame than a conventional golf car. They have 4-wheel brakes. They have DOT windshields. They have turn signals, brake lights, and so they have a lot of headlights, windshield wipers. So we really want to emphasize that these are not golf cars, even though they do look kind of like them. We sort of cringe when people call them golf cars, but we're used to it now. And so I guess I think of compare it to a motorcycle, for instance, or in Fayetteville, the scooters, which are everywhere. If you've been to Fayetteville, there's a lot of college kids driving scooters. We think we're much safer than scooters, and we think we're safer than motorcycles. Motorcycles have about you have about a 30 to 35 times higher risk of being severely injured on a motorcycle than you do in a car. And so, you know, we're trying to sort of get the idea out to parents, particularly of students, that they shouldn't be, you know, giving their kids scooters or paying for their scooters. They should be, you know, using our product or something else in Fayetteville. And so, I don't know, I hope that kind of answered your question. Yeah.
Jordan Carlisle again. I have a very interesting idea for you. You can take it or leave it. I think that if you could find a student at the U of A who may or may not be a marketing major, who's an expert in Snapchat, that is willing to do some type of internship, low cost, and you could do some type of humorous story, just like continuous stories on Snapchat.
Right.
Snapchat is blowing up, and everyone uses it constantly. And it could be an interesting way, even if it's people just looking at it because they think it's funny, to tell that story. And I also think it's super low barrier to entry, super low cost. And I think that there's some interesting ideas you could do with.
That's a great idea. Yeah, we've thought about YouTube videos that were comical, and Instagram is supposedly, you know, everybody's telling we got to do Instagram, and I think you're absolutely right. I mean, part of the struggle we're having now is that Michael and I are both in our 50s, you know, and the peer group we're trying to market to are, you know, are in their teens or 20s, and that's kind of a challenge. And so we have actually been talking for some time that we need to hire, you know, we do have some student ambassadors that drive the vehicles, but I think you have a fantastic idea. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Luke Irvin. I'm with South Ventures. I've got 2 questions. So the first question is going to go a little bit into maybe technical, but as well as like audience reach. So where's your vision? Where's your kind of goal to get to in the mobile space? I see you're doing things text related. So I guess maybe go into like how well is that working? Are you considering going like native mobile apps? Are you thinking of using iBeacons, maybe emojis, just different things like that to grow your adoption, just ease of use? And then the follow-up question is, are you working with any kind of mobile tech workshops? If not, are you looking?
Well, okay, so as I understand the question, we have talked about, initially we actually intended to do an app. We found that the development time was slow, the cost was high compared to SMS, and then we kind of decided, well, you know what, it'd be kind of cool to do SMS, because then you know, we could probably, we feel like we can market our business model to communities like, for example, Atlanta, Georgia, where they have a real problem connecting people to transit, particularly people of lower economic means. It's a huge problem in Atlanta. They have, you know, tens of thousands of people who are unemployed, and one of the major reasons is because they don't have a vehicle and they don't have a way to get to jobs. And they have the MARTA transit system, but they can't, you know, it's too far for them to walk. And so we think that we have a last mile connectivity solution for that, which is a huge issue for transit systems really around the world. And so having the SMS platform is a very economical way to solve that problem. And yeah, I think we probably will eventually have an app, and we are sort of the, there was an interesting study done by a Harvard Business School researcher about 6 months ago, I think, and they had an interview with him on EV World, and he basically was saying that the way that the automobile industry will be disrupted will not be with Tesla. It will be with low-speed EVs, because low-speed EVs are affordable by the masses. Tesla will never be, probably. And so he said what happens is that companies who develop from the top and develop the ultimate driving machine are the ones that get all the attention. And that's what everybody, and they become everybody's competitor. Whereas the guys like us who are starting at the bottom, everybody laughs at us. And meanwhile, we just slowly get better and better and better, and then we move into the mainstream. And so that's kind of our our philosophy, and SMS kind of goes along with that. And I think we will eventually have an app, and we do have a consultant that we use for our SMS program on a regular basis. Yeah, I think it's a good question, and I think eventually we're going to be moving more into conventional apps. Did that answer your question, or? Okay. If you want to repeat the rest of it, you were kind of like flying over my head a little bit. I'm not a tech guy. I mean, I developed the algorithms for the SMS system, which for me was like, really challenging. But
we'll kind of go into like, you want to track audiences. So if you look at like, especially if you got the college market there, and even in high schools, I mean, you can order a pizza through an emoji now. So if you order your car, you're just basically sending a vehicle emoji or something like that. It's something that's kind of like relevant to the younger.
Right. It's more that's a good idea. I think that's probably possible, and I think you can do that with SMS maybe. I'm not sure. Yeah. It's good thought. Thanks. Yeah.
Name's Hector Felix. Bob, I really like this idea. I think it's great. I'm from Denver. I think this would take off huge in the Denver market. And yet, yes, I do see the barriers to entry when it comes to a Fayetteville, especially in a very deep southern Arkansas culture where you like your big trucks and big SUVs and all that kind of stuff, right? But I think for this really to scale and go past MVP in the Fayetteville campus, I think it's going to be through selective targeting, marketing, especially who is your target customer. For example, I'm from Denver, came down here to college, and I did not bring a car with me my first year, right? So I was without any wheels.
Yeah.
So this, for me, my first year would have been perfect. My parents would have paid for the whole deal.
Yeah.
Maybe there is a way for you to get into the U of A administrators and say, hey, this is something I could bring to you guys as you guys go and talk to parents who don't want to have their kids bring a car. They're a first or a second year of college. This could be a solution for them. Yeah,
it's a great thought. Actually, we have a contact in Denver that's actually kind of pulling on us to come out there. With the Aurora campus or whatever, they have like 3 or 4 colleges all clustered together near downtown. I think you're right. Getting to the parents is going to be key because the parents are footing the bills for transportation, and we haven't really figured out how to do it yet. The U of A has sort of been rudderless because they haven't had a chancellor for about a year, and they just finally announced their new chancellor who came from Ohio State, and which incidentally has a pretty active car sharing culture there. So we're guardedly optimistic that we're going to make some headway with that kind of a thing now. So thank you.
Okay, that's all the time we have for questions today. Keep in mind, if you want to share anything you heard, these are all of the Twitter handles and hashtags. Feel free to share anything. We can go ahead and thank Bob for coming today.
Thank you. Yeah.
So we end all 1 million cups the same way, where we ask you, what's one thing we can do to help you?
Wow, I mean, you've already provided some great feedback. And I guess, if any of you know students or prospective students that are getting into the University of Arkansas or parents of those students, please help spread the word about SUMO. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, and Steve has one announcement today.
Thanks so much. Just a quick reminder to everyone, especially some of the new faces I see today. This weekend is 2 days to startup on the campus of UALR in the EIT building. So feel free to register for that if you haven't. It's at venturecenter.co/2days. And that is coming up. It starts Friday evening. Also here on Thursday evening is going to be the Delta Challenge with the Delta Regional Authority. I believe there's about 18 companies that are going to be represented in that pitch competition. It'll be a great opportunity to see some really amazing companies that are growing here in Arkansas. So come out and support that as well. And we'll, as far as the 2 days, we'll keep that registration open actually till Friday morning. So take advantage of that. Any other community announcements real quick before we close out? Anything going on? All right. Thanks so much on behalf of the Venture Center for attending this morning. Feel free to stay for Co-work Wednesday if you'd like. Any of these open community areas are available for you for co-working today. Any other things? All right. Thanks so much. Have a good day.